Welcome to Haha Podcast Episode 1. Get through the wind. Summer, she clung to the door, looking at him. Eyes of surprise mixed with happiness. Happiness can only be found in people who have been waiting for each other for more than 20 years to understand. "22 years ago, she was still a young girl born in a sunny and poor countryside. At the age of 18, according to her mother's wishes, she sadly put aside her dream of architecture and entered pedagogy. However, she often escapes to the architecture school to play, also builds a stand, and paints as well as the real thing. Then she met him, an architecture student with flowing hair, but with no trace of romance in his resolute eyes. During the student exchange at the beginning of the class, by chance, two eyes met in the middle of the crowd, in the Sound of Rock. Then love. He was only 2 years older than her, but with poise. "With you, I feel protected." She is like an odd shadow in the middle of life. When he came, the cool wind blew deep into her soul. Summer vacation in the third year, she took him back to her hometown to debut. He had to say a lot before she agreed to let him go home. "I'm afraid of how many things separate me and you." He waved his hand, pulled her across the road cut in the middle of the vast field. He smiled like a child, rolled up his pants above his knees, waded through the field to pick some fragrant rice branches with the smell of milk and put them in her hand. Her mother is worried, the son is rich, so he is not suitable to live in the countryside, so he is still a poor country. He didn't say anything, just kept imitating her mother to order food, find crabs, and catch snails. The day he returned, he walked barefoot along the country road, with his own hands, each piece of thatched roof, and built each broken table leg. His mother kept looking at him with a smile. "Finally, this house has also warmed up with the breath of a man." After she graduated, he took her home to meet his mother. She trembled like a child for the first time at school. If it weren't for him to squeeze her hand, she might not have had the courage to set foot in the house with the cold iron gate and delusion. However, even with him, she could not walk through that gate with dignity again. His mother could not get rid of her obsession with the teaching profession. In the past, his father left his mother and children, at that time he was only 2 years old, to build a family with a teacher in the village. Mother looked at her for a long time with that hazy memory and shook her head. No, the heavy iron gate closed behind her like a closed grave to bury her youth. He stood there, painfully watching her dash away in the rain. He couldn't put his mother and sister on the scale to measure. He couldn't choose even though he knew he had a baby coming, and it would haunt him for the rest of his life. He closed his eyes. "The gray water of life flows back into my heart." So he lost her. Later, even when trying to remember, she didn't know how she and her mother could go through those days.